Tonight, the traffic cops are chasing auto burglars who'll stop for nothing.
What's your name, mate? What's your name?
James.
Dealing with breakdowns.
Probably I will phone an interpreter.
And breakups.
The worst first date I've ever had in my life.
Running after people who've been drinking.
Let's go, he's come.
Or using knives.
That's a big knife.
And hunting for a killer on the loose.
The puzzle deepens. We didn't know whether we were investigating what could possibly have been a murder.
Just north of London in Hertfordshire, reports are coming in that an expensive Mini Cooper has just been stolen. Luckily, traffic cops Chris Payne and Nathan Catley are not far away.
The media is coming about someone following a stolen car from Hertford North towards Bradfield.
Whoa, that's where we are, isn't it?
It's becoming increasingly rare to have your car stolen, thanks to recent technological advances that have made it virtually impossible for criminals to get into them and start them. Instead, they need to steal the keys first.
3 Whiskey 7, we're en route, we're on the 602. What was it that makes them think it's stolen?
They're following their own stolen car.
Oh, it's their own? No.
The people who reported the Mini being stolen are doing their best to get it back.
A stolen vehicle was being followed by 2 friends of the person who had the vehicle stolen.
Whenever there's a pursuit over the radio, everyone wants to get in on the act. Ross Clark is no exception.
The road that it was being pursued along sort of comes out no more than kind of a quarter of a mile from the motorway junction. And as we were coming off, I was thinking to myself, we're either going to get on the back of this pursuit or we're going to be able to get there, get a stinger out and sting it.
Patrolling in his unmarked police car, Jim Norton was able to get behind the Mini by pure chance.
As I came up to the Datchworth turn on the B197 at Walmer Green, Mini pops out of the junction across my path. I'll never forget it. Brake discs were glowing red, orange hot. I thought it had one of these snazzy set of wheels that glow in the dark, but it's because the brake discs were literally burning so hot they were glowing.
For some reason, the driver's got his foot on the brake while he's driving along.
I'm thinking, stolen Mini, this has got to be one of our auto burglaries that we suffer, so this is going to be some real professional criminals out there stealing cars overnight from addresses by means of burglary.
The way the car's being driven, the chances of an accident are great, especially now he's suddenly discovered how to drive without his foot on the brake.
Your heart jumps up into your mouth. You think it's a really wrong time to accelerate, and you can see what's going to happen. Hit a tree and into a bus shelter, and you're thinking this person's going to be probably really badly hurt.
But somehow he isn't.
You can tell he's under the influence of something, whether drink or drugs.
The car thief doesn't have any obvious injuries at all.
Criminals have this irritating ability of escaping any harm for what they do. I quite often liken them to cockroaches. You know, they can get blown up or go through car crashes, yet they're just indestructible. They'll be back next week stealing cars and taking drugs.
Did it hurt anywhere in particular? Are you bleeding at all anywhere?
I don't really know, mate. First thing I knew, I hit that thing, and all of a sudden you were, and that's all right.
You understand you're under arrest, yeah?
No, I understand.
You understand arrest for motor vehicle, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, fella.
And he's then come clean. He says, I've consumed 20 cans of Foster, I think it was, and taken some spliffs, some cannabis, and I'm on this antidepressive medication as well.
The Mini's absolutely wrecked as well.
And I'm thinking this thing looks like it's going to catch fire. It's gone into the side of a bus stop.
Hello guys.
Yeah, we're the ones that reported it.
It's proper smoke, and I wouldn't be surprised if that goes up at the moment.
Yeah.
I take it you've called Trumpton for this. It is smoking quite heavily.
I'll give him a call.
Thank you. If that had been sort of 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he's done 50 mile an hour into a bus stop. And that would have just been horrendous.
Sierra 6 have arrived. Not overly concerned at the level of injuries at this point. Obviously, await for an update from Ambo.
He was complaining of pain to his neck and back due to the impact of the collision. So we immobilised him, basically by taking control of his head, C-spine immobilisation. So if there was any cervical spine injuries, they were basically protected.
Which leg am I touching? Which leg am I touching?
Even though he's committed these offences, our first role is to provide first aid and trauma care.
Yeah, all right, we'll leave you to it then.
Cheers, thanks a lot. Take care.
It looked like his brakes were actually locked on or jammed on. A lot of the time as it was coming along the road, you could see there was a lot of smoke coming from the actual wheels themselves, and when it had turned right, you could see the brake discs were actually glowing red hot. His accelerator's come down over the hill, and it's basically gone out of control, clipped the curb down here, bounced and smashed into the bus stop there. He's come round too fast, and you can see the skid marks where the back end's basically slid across the road and he's hit the curb, and that's bounced him up the curb into the bus shelter.
The smashed Mini belongs to a girlfriend of the lads who were following it, who'd had her car key stolen.
So you knew that it'd been pinched out of her handbag, and you were like, well, we'll sit up on your motor?
Yeah. She had her handbag stolen, and they've assumed her car keys are in that handbag, and they've put two and together and thought whoever's stolen her handbag is probably going to come and look for her car. And when they were on their way back to where she'd had her car parked, they saw it coming out.
So we chased him and run the friends to police at the same time, giving them directions where we were going, and then this is what happened.
Luckily, one of them's a racing driver as well, so he's managed to keep up with her quite well.
They've given a really good commentary over the phone to the control room, so they've managed to obviously catch up with the vehicle. Apparently, it had no lights on at one point.
Certainly, without their assistance, we'd have never probably found that vehicle that night.
We found a few things in the jacket pocket of the driver. We found a couple of mobile phones, one of which is a BlackBerry, which we believe to belong to the owner of the Mini.
The cops need to find out exactly who the auto burglar is.
Obviously, we can't do mobile ID because he's being treated, but just to give us an ID, it's him. So we've basically used this PDA here to assist us in confirming his identity. So by looking at the picture there.
The man is James Bevan, and he's failed the roadside breathalyser.
He blew well over, and then obviously to get an evidential sample from him, we can't take him back to the police station, stand him up next to the intoximeter to get an evidential sample from him because he's injured and he needs medical treatment. So the next step is to get a doctor out and request a sample of blood for analysis.
Yeah, I can see it from here, can't you?
Can you see the tip of...
Yeah, keep that shining on it.
The traffic cops just need 1 or 2 measurements for their report, and then the road can be reopened.
He's completely smashed.
He's had 20 cans of Foster's, he's had cannabis about 4 hours ago, he's had all these other...
Heroin as well.
He's had heroin now, has he?
Yeah.
So,
it's not worth it.
You say he had Valium and everything else.
They offered him gas and air, it wasn't not strong enough. Wasn't going to hit the spot.
No, I doubt what he's had.
Yeah, he's been charged with 8 offences, which are aggravated vehicle taking, failing to stop for police, dangerous driving, using a vehicle no insurance, driving otherwise in accordance with a licence. I think there's even some malicious telecommunication offences, because there's been a couple of fake 999 calls from a drunk male in Hertford town centre, which was him also. Yeah, a bit of a silly boy, really.
In the 1990s, car crime amounted to more than 20% of all crime.
For me a second. A very well-dressed Asian lady and her elderly mother sitting next to her and a load of kids in the back, and it was just like, I was not expecting that at all.
But she may not be driving legally.
She says she's got a provisional driving licence.
Provisional? Just step over here just so you're not in the road.
I can't quite put the car, the way you were driving, and the occupants of the car being children and yourself and that. What kind of driving licence do you have?
International one at the moment. It's in the process of getting changed.
Okay, and you have a provisional UK licence.
Yes.
What country are you from?
Kenya.
You're from Kenya. And how long have you been in England?
Well, I've just come back on Wednesday.
Okay, how long have you been living in England?
About 4 months or so.
Right. So how come you've got a UK provisional licence? When did you apply for that?
Because I want to change it. Well, no, the thing is, I've been in and out of the country for a long time, and so I have applied for it, but I just haven't been here long enough to have to actually sit the test whenever I've tried to book it.
What's your immigration status with the UK border? You're a British citizen.
I was born here.
Why? So, if you were born here, why have you got an international
Because I never
licence?
lived here.
Right.
Do you have any ID at all on you?
I have a bank card, if that's enough. I like a credit card, debit card.
Go and grab those bits for us, that would be cool. I'm not believing this for a minute, are you?
It's a bit weird.
An international licence is only valid for a year after first entering the UK, and if on a provisional, the woman needs L plates.
You obviously have got a foreign licence, because at some point in time you've acquired points in the UK, probably driving on that licence. Does that sound about true? Because what we do is we create a record for you to put points on it, and then you can accumulate them that way.
Because it did say to me that when I change it, they will roll over.
Right, well what they've actually done is that you've got 2 records in England. The first one being your non-licence holder, which is the one where you acquired points on your foreign licence. And then obviously you've got a provisional licence which you got on the 1st of November 2008, which is 2008.
And now she's going to get some more points. But the points on her provisional licence and a £60 fine are the least of her problems. She's also having her prized Porsche seized.
We're not going to allow you to drive any further.
Okay.
Because you're not allowed, basically. You've only got a provisional licence in the UK. The only time that you can drive is with L plates and someone who's...
got a driver's licence.
Well, yeah, a UK driver's licence for more than 3 years and is over the age of 21.
Okay.
Yeah? I'll be honest with you, if we had been checking your speed on Beecham Grove and we could get an accurate reading on that, then you would also get a speeding fine as well. When I walked round to the front of that car and saw you in there, rather than like 4 gangsters or whatever, the way you were driving in that kind of car, I was just like, what's going on? Children in the back. It was a bit of a shock.
We just had a big Tesco shop, so there, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so how do I get my car back home? Do I ask my... Yeah, because they're on holiday, so... Anyway, do I get my husband to come pick up the car, or do I...
No, unfortunately, the situation is the vehicle gets recovered to one of our compounds.
She called up a taxi and we waited with her. It was quite late at night with kids and so on, so we would have waited with her until the taxi turned up. It's quite good, isn't it? Little less right foot, eh?
Okay, thank you
right.
very much.
Right,
Take care, thank you.
Bye.
Lap of luxury inside.
Oh, can't even afford to tax it.
How much is the tax?
455 sheets.
455 quid to tax it. Mate, that's my spending money for the month.
Busy night, eh?
Yeah, there's bits and bobs going on, definitely.
It's turning out to be a busy night for suspected vehicle crime. A roadside number plate reading camera near Stevenage has picked out another stolen car.
There was an ANPR hit on the vehicle, straight away flagged up as being a stolen vehicle. So we've all gone to where the vehicle has hit the camera and started to search for it.
Jim's been joined in the hunt by his colleagues Nathan and Chris.
I'm just trying to get through to someone to find out if we've got any more details, because it's an overdue hire one.
Stealing cars after hiring them is certainly one way to avoid the difficulty of getting hold of the keys. Jim has found the car, a Renault Clio, in an Asda car park.
Luckily, he was in an unmarked car, and so he was able to sit up at a point fairly in the shadows and wait, hopefully, for people to return to the car.
We've come in the delivery entranceway off a London road. Just trying to see, I think we can get through to the front, so we're out of view.
A plan had been put together that the vehicle would be recovered, but in the meantime we would sit there, continue to observe the vehicle, and hopefully the offenders might return to it before we recover the vehicle.
It could be a long wait.
We're all at various points around the entrance to Asda.
At times like this, you find out who your friends are.
You learn a lot about people in that time.
A bit of mickey taking's quite normal, and it sometimes involves Nathan and his resemblance to a certain well-known footballer.
He's got a picture of Frank Lampard on his locker. He loves the fact that he's compared to someone so high profile.
There's worse people to look like, I suppose.
While the Asda stakeout continues, in Bedford, Tanvir Hussain and Chris Norton are lingering at another car park for a man they suspect is a drunk driver.
It was an anonymous tip-off that a person regularly drinks at the Half Moon pub, and he drives this van, and this is the registration.
Tan has no qualms about going after people who've been snitched on.
If you choose to go to a pub in your car and drink, expect to have a police officer waiting around the corner when you leave. Simple as that.
We had some intelligence previously suggested that he also was drinking at the Duke Public House, which was just up the street.
Chris and Tan are going on a pub crawl.
As we drove into the pub, Chris noticed a male walking across the road.
Painter's trousers, decorator's van. It's got to be our man.
I don't think he clocked us. He didn't clock us, did he?
No. The way he was walking across here, you could tell he was drunk straight away. Tan, you won't be able to see the car park if we park here. I know he's got to come right.
Once again, the cops want to catch their prey in the act.
Just lay by here. I'm going to get out. For some unknown reason, and he's never done it before, he got out of the car and he goes, I'm going to go and have a look.
As the male crossed the road, he went out of view, so I just wanted to be sure that he went into the pub car park and not walked further up the road, otherwise we would be sitting there for half an hour and nothing would happen. As I got closer, I just heard the sound of an engine. Let's go, let's go! And I immediately realised it was him.
And the next thing I hear is the slap of feet and the huffing of, panting of breath. And Tan runs back and says, it's him, it's him, it's him.
You're a naughty boy.
We've got the van. We found Mr. Drunk walking back towards the pub. And he's just got on his van.
The white van man's in no hurry to pull over.
That was funny.
The police computer says the man's name is Wayne Hughes.
He took his time. I got out, and as normal, just nice and polite. Thank you for stopping.
Wayne, though, is far from happy.
He was actively resistant towards us. All right, don't be cross. Don't be cross. What's your name?
Bert.
Bert? Right. If you're going to go down that route, Bert, you're under arrest. He was just being obstreperous towards us, and I just thought, I'm not going to play your game. If you're going to lie to me or trick me like a fool, my patience wears very thin very quickly. Sorry?
You tell us my driving.
I can tell by the smell of the alcohol on your breath.
No, but you didn't put it on before you pulled me over, did you?
Don't bother, Chris.
Cool.
Okay, lovely.
We saw you walking around, and then you went into the pub and then jumped in your car. You were very unsteady on your feet.
If the police have enough suspicion somebody has been drinking and driving, they don't have to use a breathalyzer.
We can just arrest him section 4. That's what Chris did.
It's late night shopping back at Asda, but at last something's happening. Jim spotted 2 people coming towards the stolen hire car.
White trainers, large bill, beige bag and a hat. Just approach the vehicle, getting into the driver's seat.
Nathan and Chris need to move fast, so there's no chance of the car or the occupants getting away.
So it's very important from an evidential point of view to get them in that vehicle. The problem we then have is that we don't want that to then turn into a pursuit. Contrary to popular belief, we don't want pursuits.
Okay, 306, you were something.
The Whiskey 7, are we going into them? Yeah, we're in there now. Okay, yeah, got it. Over. We came in all lights blazing and cut the vehicle off so that he couldn't go forwards or backwards.
At the moment, you're under arrest on suspicion of theft of a motor vehicle, all right? You're going to have to say anything.
Wait,
This motor vehicle, 2 seconds, you don't have to say anything, but it may harm your defence, make sure we question something later on in court. Anything this can be given evidence, you understand, okay?
Theft for what?
This vehicle shown as being outstanding stolen from Avis rental car, okay? Therefore, you've been
Oh my
arrested
days.
because of it, okay?
What's your name, fella?
Courtney, oh my days, officer, listen to me. Let me explain something before you hit me. Listen.
The male driver, he was very, very heavily built, so my concern was to gain control of him straight away.
On my mother's life, you're arresting me for no reason.
Well, the car's shown as outstanding stolen.
It made mention over there had been problems with payment, but really didn't give a great account as to why.
The arrest was commenced a prompt and effective investigation, do you understand that?
No, but now you're going to put me in a cell for
we're going to
hours.
speak to you about it. We're going to speak to you, make some inquiries about it. But at the moment, because you're in that vehicle and that's just driven off, it's report stolen, you've been arrested.
Nathan had gone to the passenger side and was dealing with the female passenger, which allowed me to conduct a search of the vehicle.
This is ridiculous.
You need to understand that whoever owns this car, which isn't him, has reported it stolen.
How do you know it's not him? How do you know it's not his
Well, I know it isn't his car because I know who the registered owner of it is, and it's not him. Have you got any identification on you?
No, sorry.
The man's into sport or serious self-defence.
A couple of baseball bats.
Does he play baseball, does he?
He does sports with you, he does kit.
I haven't found a football yet.
No, seriously, he does, he plays with kids and stuff like that.
Okay.
That's all sports related.
Well, I'm guessing as there's a baseball in here as well. I'm guessing you play baseball. Well, that's it then, isn't it? I didn't say anything to you.
He had a perfectly legal reason to have those, but you have to remain calm and establish the facts before you react.
Some paperwork in the boot might show if he's got a perfectly legal reason for having the car as well.
What's he said about why he's got the vehicle? Has he
It's all
said
to do with payment, he says.
Pardon?
Any comments he's made, it's all to do with payment. So whatever that is.
There's lots of...
We often get hire vehicles that we stop, and in those vehicles you will find a number of pieces of documentation relating to the hire of several vehicles over a very short period of time.
Rental cars.
So you have to ask questions as to why a person is hiring several different vehicles over a short amount of time. What is their reasons for doing that? You can draw your own conclusions from it, but you've got to remain impartial to a certain extent, and you need to look at the evidence you have in front of you.
The reason that you're in this situation is because you're in a vehicle that's been reported stolen.
Because you saw 2 black people and you felt the need to pull them over.
Well, if you think that, I'm sorry that you think that.
That's what it is. It's racism to the highest degree. That's what it is.
Okay.
It always is with police officers. They just see black people and think suddenly we're doing wrong. Well, guess what? He works with kids. Guess what? I work. We pay our taxes. We do things like that. Doesn't mean that we're criminals just because we're black.
But you're in a stolen vehicle.
in a stolen
The
vehicle
fact remains.
that I knew nothing about.
The reason they were stopped had nothing to do with their backgrounds. Had it been a middle-class white person in that car, it would have still got stopped.
To make matters worse for them, the pair are going to be searched and taken to the NIC.
Yes. Because you need to be spoken to by the officers who are going to be investigating this offence.
The girl's name is Scarlett, and unfortunately for her, she's out with a man on a first date that's not turning out so well.
You don't even understand, he wasn't even here, so don't come here and start hearing half the story and then think
No, but I'm doing my job by searching you before you go in the car.
Doing your job for what? You got
I'm searching
me over for no reason.
That's why I'm here.
This is just absolutely ridiculous.
I think she got a bit more than she bargained for.
Are you happy with that? I've got nothing on me. Are you not happy with that?
It's not for me to be happy, it's for this officer to be happy.
You know what, I've got things to do and I don't have time to be sitting there talking to you lot, so can we just hurry up, get this over and done with so you can let me go? Would you like this?
Yes, please.
There we go.
Would you like to
Can you
put
This is literally an £800 bag, can you just make sure nothing happens to it?
when we get to the police station, it'll be put in a locker and nobody else will
Not
touch
on
it.
the floor,
Can you
not
just
on
put
the
your sunglasses in there for me?
As well, £250 glasses.
Wow.
Throw them then.
Really very appreciate that, sarcasm.
Decision had been made by our Oscar 1, the inspector, and he said, we'll get the vehicle recovered. There's always forensic opportunities in the vehicle that we can use.
I'm not going to run off. Come on, you as a woman should know I'm not going to run off in 4-inch heels. Come on.
I can't say I've ever seen you in 4-inch heels.
Had
Obviously, being stopped by the police when you're on your first date, not ideal, I suppose. She was planning on a candlelit dinner somewhere. Not custard donuts at Asda's.
While the couple get transported to the police station and their car gets taken away from Asda, the white van man caught drinking and driving in Bedford is already being booked in for a night in the cells.
Listen, like I said in the car, let's sort this out. You're here for a reason. You've got yourself in this mess. The custody sergeant's going to deal with you. We're going to get you out as soon as possible.
Wayne is still fuming that he didn't get the chance to blow into the roadside breathalyzer.
Why didn't you ask for a breath test?
Because he's explaining to you about your demeanour.
He's not explaining, you are.
Well, you keep talking over me though,
Well,
don't you?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to speak over you, but normally...
If your attitude... let me answer
No, I don't do attitude. Listen.
He thought we were picking on him, when we weren't. We were just doing our job.
It's been since you've been here. I can understand why the traffic officer has decided...
Well, how can you tell that? How can you tell that if we walk across the street?
Sir, I've tried my best to
That's what
explain
I'm
it
asking
to
you. How can you tell me that by me walking across the road? It's pulled me over, opened my van door, pulled me out the van door and arrested me. It's not asking for a breath test.
Your first words out your mouth, which I remember, or sake. Then you got out your car and I invited you into the back of my car.
Yeah.
I got into the front while you sat in the front, while in the back.
I agree with that.
I moved my chair forward so to give you leg room, and you were already in a bit of a huff. And I said to you, "What's your name?" And you went, "Bert." And you did it in such a way that I believed that you were going to be obstructive to me.
If I was your size, would you have dealt with differently?
It's got nothing to do with your size.
Well, okay then,
Right.
that's good to know.
Chris didn't really get off to a good start with him, and by looking at his demeanour and the way he was, I decided to stay quiet. It wasn't until we got to custody that I got a bit involved, because I knew I would be putting him on the intoxilizer machine.
Keep going, 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 keep going. You'll hear the beep, keep going, keep going, keep going. That's it, cheers.
The man's blown hot and cold all night. Now he's blown over.
77 and 76, so that's over 50. We'll take the lower out of the two, which is 76. It's going to be a straightforward charge.
Wayne's more than double the legal drink-drive limit. He's facing a lengthy ban and will need to watch his back in the future.
If somebody gets disqualified as a result of drink driving, then we're going to try and get him disqualified again for driving whilst disqualified. I think it's only fair that we use the intelligence system the best way we can, and if intelligence suggests that somebody's driving whilst disqualified, then we're going to be around the corner.
Back in Stevenage, the two occupants of the hired Clio out on a first date at Asda have arrived at the police station.
Due to the vehicle being reported as stolen, he was charged with taking the vehicle without consent and using the vehicle with no insurance.
Scarlett's facing a very minor charge.
Being carried in a stolen motor vehicle.
being carried in a stolen motor vehicle that I didn't know was stolen.
Well,
if you were being carried in a stolen motor vehicle that you didn't know was stolen, then maybe you'd have that too. Maybe
having never been in that situation, I don't know.
Well, not all of us are goody two shoes like you. Well, none of us can live the privileged right way life. Some of us do have rough lives.
He just said they'd just met on a date, they'd gone to Asda to get some food, and then this all happens. He didn't think it was a great experience, and I don't think he thought that his relationship with her would probably go much further.
I thought that was you walking. Right, so...
Let me take my bra and panties too, or is that too much?
The bra, it's under mine, it's up to the custody sergeant.
Next time any guy asks me out, I'm going to ask their licence, their registration, their insurance, everything.
Ask for proof that they own the car.
But how would you know
want to see the V5?
What's the V5?
It's a registration document.
See,
It proves you own the
I
car.
know the first thing about cars.
Such a romantic name for me.
She was allowed to speak to her mum and tell her what was going on.
Mummy, I've been arrested. Oh no, please just come and get me when I'm done. It's in Hertfordshire.
She was taking it in a lot better humour than I would have been if I'd have been arrested for being in a stolen vehicle.
Love you. Bye. She said she's going back to her base.
That's a good idea. I think we ended up having a laugh and a joke about the whole situation.
Definitely the worst first date I've ever had in my life. And he won't be getting a ring back. Definitely not. As far as dates goes, I could not believe how bad it's gone.
After his terrifying mini-adventure and a few hours in the hospital, a taxi has arrived to take James Bevan home from the nick.
He's ready.
Is he in the front desk, is he?
Yeah, he's wearing his green suit because we cut all his clothes off him.
We were asked to take him home, and reluctantly I did.
I'm more bruised, a bit bruised and battered sort of thing where I was shook about.
He showed a little remorse, not much. Not much. I don't think there was much mentioned about the poor owner of this car.
Look, I'm alive, didn't kill no one, so I suppose.
I find it very difficult sometimes to sit there and listen to someone go on and on and on when I've seen the damage and the hurt that they've caused.
Oh, I've got bail till the 7th of September. So I've got my birthday's on the 5th, so I can celebrate that knowing that I'll be alright. I don't want to go to prison, but if I go to prison, I go to prison. I've done the crime, so do the time.
Alright James, you take care mate.
I have very little time for people like that. The only remorse they have is the fact they got caught, I find.
Catching car thieves and picking up the pieces is only part of the job. Beds and Herts traffic cops must go beyond that.
Come on, Mr. Poland, out the way. Thank you.
People with knives are now an everyday occurrence for them. Officers from the Highways Agency have put in an emergency call about a man waving one around on the side of the busy M25.
Highways officers, HASOs, had asked a foreign heavy goods vehicle driver to leave the hard shoulder because he was parked on there, and they described him as becoming very irate and threatening them with a knife.
Traffic on the 4 lanes has backed up after an earlier accident and is probably why the driver decided to stop, illegally on the hard shoulder.
it for parking on the hard shoulder, and then he needs to be told to go away and find somewhere else to park.
Where is your insurance?
Why?
Because you stopped here.
You're
Stop
lying.
crying at me.
No, I lied.
Out.
I don't understand English. Look.
Follow me.
No.
Follow me.
I have no problem.
Come with
Here
me.
is 1, 2, 3. No problem. I have problem. Where I have problem? Look.
The driver's convinced he's being picked on.
And it was a complete nightmare. He just didn't want to know and felt it was really hard done by, I think.
Where is problem?
I will phone an interpreter.
Where is problem? Please look. 1, 2, look.
The man's got evidence, pictures of other lorries that were parked up too.
Where is problem?
Calm down.
Where is problem? 40 minutes with problem.
Come with me.
Why? No. I problem with 40 minutes.
Fella, calm down.
Please.
Calm down.
Please, no.
Just walk. Just walk. Come with.
What seemed a simple job is going horribly wrong.
Fella. The Haytos have just made him cry. Come on. Horrible Haytos made you cry. He's all right. He's just very upset.
We couldn't get through to him, so we thought we'd take him to the car, get a Polish interpreter and tell him what was going to happen.
He's starting to cry and have a temper tantrum like a kid, basically.
He's really got his knickers in a twist.
There were just some really baggy sort of trousers, and they just fell down, which was a bit weird.
The traffic cops are quite used to breakdowns, but not this kind.
Calm down.
Calm down, right?
I don't know.
Okay.
Chill out.
He was quite a good actor, or he was very, very upset.
He's mad, quite frankly.
He's with the police, and we need to sort out why he stopped on the hard shoulder of the motorway. Can you just tell him that? He's not going to get hurt unless if he listens to us, he'll be fine.
He was one of 3 lorries. There was a lorry in front of him that had stopped, but had since gone when the Haytos told him to move on. And there was a Turkish chap behind him.
We were going to give the Turk a graduated fixed penalty for stopping on the hard shoulder.
Okay, so that's that one. So he's in the so he's the blue van guy.
Yeah.
Does he speak English? No.
Woodsy gave the Turkish chap a £30 fine and told him to leave.
We can take money off people at the roadside, so.
Don't you? Don't you? Drive carefully.
Yeah.
Bye
bye.
Once I spoke to him with the interpreter, he tried to say that he had a problem with his tacho.
The reason why they're dealing with him in this way is because all the other ones left when they were told to, and he stayed at the side of the motorway. That's why we've been called, and he was peeling potatoes and eating his dinner, not fiddling with his tachograph.
His problem is he doesn't really understand what's going on. He's going to be charged £30 basically for stopping on the hard shoulder motorway, which he's obviously not allowed to do. His company have said if he hasn't got the £30, and they will pay that money for him.
I think once that had dawned on him that it's not as serious as potentially being locked up and taken away for the night, that he calmed right down.
There are no more tears, but the potato peeler has still got a chip on his shoulder.
20 years driver, 20 years. No problem. Russia, Turcia, complete Europa, no problem. England problem.
Right.
No problem, complete Europa.
You know what to do, don't you?
No problem. 40 minutes go.
Go on, that way.
Luckily, the traffic cops have now got an easy way to deal with foreign drivers.
The graduated fixed penalty ticket is something that's quite new. It's something that I think the French police have been doing for a long time. But it basically says if the person doesn't have an address that you can summons them to, or they're foreign, they're not from England, they don't live in England, they don't have a residence, then you can give them the ticket and take money from them to pay for the ticket.
Next minute he was handing me the £30 and that was the end of the matter really, and then he shook our hands.
Happy? Right. Big smile.
Okay.
Sorry.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay.
He may have been a bit bananas, but he's not leaving without his potatoes.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Dave dealt with it very well. And you have to. You're a police officer. You represent the law and order in England and Wales. So you have to deal. No matter how ridiculous someone's being, you need to say, you know, be professional with them. But really, as a member of the public, you just want to say, grow up, stop behaving in such a stupid manner, and just man up, will you? You're getting a £30 fine for stopping your vehicle on the hard shoulder and peeling potatoes. That's it.
While the Polish knife man heads off to finally get a bite to eat, reports are coming in of another sighting of someone with a knife 20 miles north in Bedford. At least Chris and Tan won't be tackling this risky job on an empty stomach.
Yes, pass details, please.
Thank you very much for the details. Had a call reporting that there's 2 Eastern European males camped under the bridge. Informants asked them to move off Sunday, Monday, but found them again there today. He's concerned that he's noticed a machete.
Nice.
He's been a log apparently. They've not caused a problem, but concerned due to the machete.
I've got a problem with knife culture in this country, and the general public are brilliant. They report anybody with a knife or an imitation firearm, or if they believe it's a firearm, or a hammer, or even a screwdriver, because those items can kill or seriously maim or hurt people. So they call us quite readily.
2 men are roughing it beneath a bridge over the river.
They've been asked to move on previously and they've refused to do so. We are going to the location with taser just to see what's going on, to try and speak to these individuals.
It's not advisable to approach anybody with a knife, and although taser is a very effective tool against knife crime, you don't really want to face anybody with a blade.
Chris and Tan are meeting a local beat bobby already in the area.
There they are.
The land all belongs to the local borough council.
You are not allowed to camp or hunt or fish there without permission, with a licence for fishing.
So it's going to be, it is along here, isn't it? Towpath.
The actual informant says there was a sheath near to the machete, but it was too small for the machete to fit in.
It's just a matter now of finding the men.
It was very vague. It was one of those, I've seen somebody by the river here-ish. I remember hearing the Benny Hill music, because we walked up and down that embankment on towpath several times just trying to locate these people.
Tan has finally got scent of them.
All right, guys. How are you? You okay, yeah? You speak English? Okay. How many days have you been here?
5 days.
5 days.
The men are homeless and Polish as well.
They were living off the grid. Didn't seem to have any fixed abode.
Have you been spoken to today by anybody?
Yeah, it's been a guy from Priory Marina about 1 hour ago. He just told us that we got.
You have to leave, yeah.
Go away, so I just pack it up.
Okay.
The machete is here.
That's a big knife.
So, once again?
You're not allowed that.
Is that all you have? Do you have anything else?
No.
Nothing else? Okay, tell me where. Where? Okay.
Can I have a look in your bag?
Okay. Just stand there for 2 minutes, please.
Empty your pockets. Okay.
Have you not got no home?
The men are surviving on fish they catch in the river,
Fish gut.
as well as some stimulants.
Do you use heroin?
No.
No, what?
Amphetamines.
Sorry?
Amphetamines.
Amphetamines.
Yeah.
Do you have any here?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Lovely, thanks very much.
What name did he give you? Was it Martin? First name?
Yeah. Okay.
Another one.
Yeah.
In relation to what we found under the circumstances, seize them, get them booked in.
Yeah.
Advice.
Yeah.
I think that's the most appropriate action as opposed to...
You do chummy, I'll do this chap.
We're going to take both of those knives and we're going to book them into property. Okay? You're very lucky under the circumstances as to how we found them. We're not arresting you, okay? You can't be... If you walk in the street with those knives, straight away be arrested, my friend. You can't do it. So we're going to book them in and they'll be disposed of, okay? Do you understand?
Yeah. On the streets, you're not allowed to have a locking blade or a locked blade. And that's so commonplace for us. As patrolmen, we come across it daily.
No fish. You've taken them all, that's why.
As citizens of the EU, there's no question of the men being in the country illegally. They're just not used to our laws on camping out and machetes being poles apart from theirs.
They were using it to survive. They were camping it, they were using it in a camping environment, and they were not using them in anger. So I think the actions that we took were right.
Let's go. Sorted.
1 hour, chaps. 1 hour.
Are you okay? Just, yeah, if you don't mind. If you just take them back to Greyfriars and just book them in for disposal, that'd be brilliant. Cheers, boys.
Investigating the aftermath of serious accidents is part and parcel of a traffic cop's job. They are the experts with all the tools, but every now and again, extraordinary incidents happen that completely fox them. Colin Ainsworth and his colleague Neil Crozier have been called to one such case. A man's body has been found lying beside the road on the outskirts of Hertford.
There wasn't any vehicle, which was quite odd at the time because it had come across that it was an RTC. You know, looking at a fatal, and the offending driver's made off.
A passing cyclist discovered the body, but it's not clear how it got there.
The gentleman was cycling home to work, one or other, and had seen a wallet lying at the side of the road, so found the wallet, picked it up, and as he picked it up, he saw the foot on the fence and decided to call the police.
We're not assuming at this stage that it's an RTC until we review supervision.
We'll throw some kit out and go down.
As far as I know, there is some vehicle involved and a deceased male is in the vehicle. I've mentioned the skid marks. They're just down assessing the scene at the moment to see whether it's a road traffic collision, in which case it is, and obviously we've got the road closed already, which is good.
There's no car down there.
There's no car?
So there's possibly a vehicle involved. We don't know at the moment. The local inspector's taking charge because at the moment it's a body. If he decides that it's likely to be an RTC, then we'll go and take over, but until then it's their job.
Traffic Sergeant Neil Emerson attends all fatal collisions in the area, but is hedging his bets on the cause of this one.
We didn't know whether we were investigating what could possibly have been a murder. I obviously went and liaised with the inspector there. I deployed my units, and then basically we then called out the Major Crime Task Force officers because it is being treated as a crime.
Oddly, the man's wallet and keys were not on his person, but lying neatly at the side of the road.
The witness saw and found the wallet first, stopped, went to pick it up, and then so I think he's had hands on lifted it. And then
Has he got glasses there as well? There are skid marks on the road, but we need to rule out other things like deliberate acts. Hopefully it is a collision, so then our boys can get involved in it. The body is one side of the fence with its foot sort of caught between two wooden posts.
he's either had an impact that's placed it there, or he's had an impact and been placed there immediately after.
He's not very big at all. You could quite easily just sort of fireman's lift him and then just throw him over the thing.
Even though he wasn't a big man, the distance from where he might have been struck on the road to where he was found is considerable.
My initial thoughts was that this person had been hit and then he was deliberately put the other side of that fence.
Socos have videoed it and they're showing the video to MCTF so they can try and work out what they want done with the scene.
What is quickly becoming apparent is that there is very little hard evidence to go on, either on the ground
There's nothing to suggest there's any blood trails going in.
or on the body.
I've dealt with plenty of collisions, and I did A-levels in physics. Although I'm not a collision investigator, it gives you an idea of how some of the mechanics of it would work. The skid marks appeared to me that they were too wide apart to be a fairly small vehicle, and if it's a larger vehicle they tend to have a flat front. If people are hit by them they tend to go downwards rather than upwards, which would suggest he wouldn't get thrown over a fence. And if it had been a smaller vehicle, whether it be a transit van or something smaller that would throw the person in the air, the skid marks on the road would have been narrower. And so the two didn't add up.
Shall we arrange to get a float to come out?
The man has been identified from what's in his wallet as a 66-year-old local man named David Alderson.
He was married with 3 sons and he had 2 daughters prior to previous marriage as well.
A police doctor is examining the body.
And rigor mortis is setting in. I mean, you know, you're talking about...
He's looking for any clues to how or when the man might have died.
What's the time period for that to start setting in?
About 7 hours, but it's...
After about 7 hours?
And in order to get him that height and to be hit, he must have injuries on the pelvis or chest.
And there's
hard
nothing.
Enough to lift, you know, force to lift him. Well, there's no obvious marks.
All the injuries were superficial, except for a slight cut on his upper lip. The injuries are all superficial. No obvious injuries or bruising to his trunk, his back, his pelvis, his legs. So my immediate thought was that he couldn't have been hit by a car.
All the evidence there is at the scene is being collected.
Whenever two things come into contact, there's transfer from one to the other. So any of the items that you have on outside, so jacket, jumper, trousers, in this case gloves, hat, shoes, were seized as exhibits, bagged up so that they could be analysed in a laboratory later on.
I think that might be a glove print or something. We've got a bit of blood on the inside.
Something that may ultimately be crucial in cracking the case has been found.
On the glasses here we've got some traces of blood on the inside part of the lens. So what we're trying to establish is how did these items get placed or located at the side of the road? Like, would they have just fallen out of his pocket on impact? Was it a case that an impact has taken place and a third party has then pushed the body or lifted the body and put it over the side of the fence and actually placed those items at the side of the road? It's still too early to say at the current time, but the puzzle deepens.
Either way, somebody somewhere knows the answer to the puzzle.
It makes you wonder about some people in society. The fact that somebody could leave somebody's father, husband, somebody who's got a family, and people will want to know what's gone on. If it wasn't for that cyclist, he could still be there now without anyone knowing. He could have been there for a long time, and so it makes you wonder about how people can do that kind of thing.
A post-mortem examination of the body showed that there were internal injuries consistent with being struck by a large vehicle. And at his inquest, the coroner's verdict was that he did die as a result of a road traffic incident, but he wasn't able to say whether it was accidental or not. Today, Family Liaison Officer Claire Sprent is still unable to bring David's widow, Minnie, any good news about the case. After a full investigation, the police are no nearer to solving it.
How are you and the family?
Not too good at the moment.
No?
No.
Okay.
Still trying to come to terms with everything that's happened.
David was a Jehovah's Witness and known locally as the Penny Man.
Dave wouldn't just sit around, he had to be doing something. He'd go out in all weathers, rain, snow, just so he could get out and about and look for pennies. Whatever he picked up he'd bring home, put in a jar, and he'd save them and give them to his religious group that he used to be in.
But Minnie is convinced there's more to her husband's death than meets the eye.
because he went to the doctors and he left the doctors, I think it was about 5:30, 5:45. He'd have come home, washed, changed and gone straight to his meeting because he was always first there. And but then I was told that the meeting was cancelled. So why he would have been where he was, I haven't got a clue.
A passing motorist did see some people at the scene who have never come forward.
She saw 3 smartly dressed people, a woman and 2 blokes. The woman and the bloke were kneeling down near the fence and this other bloke was in the road beckoning the traffic round. She said she didn't want to stop because she had her children in the car. Hard to get it into your head, really. And he had a lot of years ahead of him still. We all reckon he was put there.
Some road accidents are a mystery, none more so than this one. Despite all the efforts of the police, the killer is still on the loose. A £2,000 reward is being offered by Crime Stoppers for any information that might lead to an arrest. James Bevan, who stole the girl's Mini after stealing her handbag with the keys in it, was given a prison sentence, but deferred for 6 months on the condition he doesn't re-offend. Wayne Hughes, aka Bert, pleaded guilty to driving whilst over the limit and was put on probation for a year and banned from driving for 3 years. The man with the rental car wasn't charged with taking it without consent, but he was found guilty of driving without any insurance and was fined £345 and given 6 points on his licence. His unfortunate date Scarlett wasn't charged at all. And it turned out that the woman who had her Porsche seized had been driving on a 1-year international licence since 2002.